Audrey, let's start with instantly with a question. What is one thing you would recommend founders or people who want to build a thriving business to start doing instantly to grow, to create a better brand? What is it that you would recommend them?
So the two things actually I would like to follow up with is A, remember to build your personal brand. And I would highly recommend to start building your personal brand on LinkedIn because that's where most of your C-suite decision makers, your recruiters are. So that's where you want to be present. But B, do it in a smart way by leveraging AI. So here's an example, right? One thing I love to do is to have my own custom GPTs built. And then I have ChatGPT mobile, right? Which then allows me to very quickly transcribe my thoughts, turn it into actionable insights, and then create a post for me because I've trained it on my style of writing. And that takes practically minutes. So for any founder who's just starting out, start building a personal brand, but do it in a smart way by leveraging AI.
Cool. Now you've all heard what Audrey is all about. It's all about passion. So the very first thing that I realized about you, how much passion you have, how much positivity there is in your voice, and on the other side, copywriting and AI. So Audrey's from Singapore, so basically on the other side of the world. So hello to Singapore from Darmstadt in Germany. Yeah, well, tell us at the beginning how you started this journey of being the AI plus copywriting person.
Yes, so the funny story was I didn't intend to take the AI route. In fact, I was almost forced into doing so because when I launched my consultancy, Close with Copy, it was the exact same moment where ChatGPT was announced. So can you
Okay.
imagine my shock? It's like, how can things happen in such a timely manner, right? So my client actually told me, he said, Audrey, you are going to be replaced. And he sent me the link to ChatGPT.
Oh
So that
gosh.
was when I really had to figure out I had two options, right? One was to fight the current and pretend it doesn't exist. Or second option would be to learn to ride the tide and really learn how to leverage it in my business and reposition myself in a strategic way, which was actually what I did.
But isn't it a contradiction? You teach people to create great content and to use AI. So it sounds like a contradiction.
That is what a lot of people think. But what I always tell people is that when you use AI, you need to add that human touch. You need to have that higher level thinking and strategy. So here's a use case, right? You can ask AI to develop 100 headlines for you, but how do you know which one of the 100 headlines actually work? Unless you're a trained copywriter, unless you've put in hours into really honing your craft, then you can fully leverage AI because from that 100 headlines, as a copywriter, I will have a sense of like, okay, these 3 headlines are going to work. I can test it in ads, and I, as a human, gain the insights from those ads. And now I get AI to recreate new ads using those insights. So it's a very
Okay.
synergistic process with AI and human in the loop.
Oh, did I get it correctly? So you ask ChatGPT to give you 100 ideas, then you choose three, and then you test them with ads?
Yes, so you
Oh,
can see the
wow.
process isn't just like asking AI to do the work for you. There is always the copywriter, the strategist in the process. So the problem people face is if they were to use AI by itself, they're going to get very bland sounding content that is not insightful and not converting customers. And that's why it doesn't work. So you really need to add that human in the loop,
Mhm.
add that human story, add that personality, and that's how you can really create content that converts.
Okay, but do you test your headlines every time with an ad or with a set of ads on Facebook, LinkedIn, or what is your process here?
Yeah, so this actually goes back to more on strategy, right? Content strategy and experimentation. Usually, we figure out things like your target audience, your context, your value proposition, your unique selling points. So you can see that even as a copywriter, there are so many things that you have to consider, right? So the next step will be to figure out which are perhaps 3 messaging angles that might resonate most with your audience. Now, during this phase, you can get AI to brainstorm ideas with you because some people might be stuck for ideas. They don't know what to say, what is the right copy, or what is the right way to articulate that message. So, AI is super handy in this process, right? And then only when you have AI as that partner, you think about what makes the most sense for your client, your audience, then you start putting content out there. So it could be ads, it could be landing pages, it could be your socials, but you're always learning from your top performing posts, your bottom performing posts. And that is the exact same thing I do even for LinkedIn as a content strategist.
So you look at your best performing post and worst performing post, and you always decide what to focus next.
Yes, so basically it gives you insights, right? So I would say that the best copywriters combine data with creativity. And now with AI, you can use AI to even leverage more insights. So AI can help you to analyze the data at a much faster, speed, right? At the same time, if you have audience transcripts like client interviews, in the past it would be really manual because you're writing down points and you're like trying to speak to 30 customers and getting all their insights. But now with AI, you can easily transcribe all the thoughts, get the key pain points, the key motivators, then start creating content. So I would say it's really streamlines your process and like reduces the time to work, right? So it's like getting that process really smart, very sharp, so that you can get stuff done quicker.
Okay, so give us some actionable tips. What is working well right now on LinkedIn? LinkedIn seems to be your platform of the day, probably the one that you focus on. But what are some actionable tips?
So I would always suggest for any founder to think about what is your objective on LinkedIn, right? So there are two main objective types. One objective type is thought leadership. Now, if you're a founder of a SaaS business and you're not looking for direct conversions, you just want to put yourself out there to get investors to see you, to get your other founders in the ecosystem to know that your brand is thriving, then I would lean heavier into things like long form articles. I would lean heavier into things like your unique point of view of trends. I would lean heavier into statistics, data that you can share with the community. However, if you are a founder looking to drive direct conversions, here is another type of post. So you can lean into lead generation type posts. For example, I could do a giveaway of my top 100 copywriting prompts, right? So when someone comments prompts, I am able to connect with them, give them that prompt playbook, and then segue into a sales conversation and hop on a call with them. So you can see that the strategies for both are very different, but it really depends on your audience, your offer, and then what you really want to do on that platform.
These are the so-called lead magnet posts. These seem to work pretty well for you as well, right?
Yeah, so I think lead magnet posts, of course, the value that you bring to your audience, it needs to be real value, tangible value. But at the same time, the reason why these posts work is because it's almost acting like a hand raiser. So if you are someone who's looking for copywriters and you see a prompt for copywriting, you want that prompting guide because you're looking to improve your copy, which means that I could offer my services. So it makes sense for you to build towards that target.
Mhm. Is it something that you have learned over time, or have you always used these types of posts when you're starting with your agency?
So it's really something that I've experimented with. It doesn't work for all business models, but it does work for a specific service type. The reason why I would say it doesn't work for all business models is because if you are running for example, a lower ticket like self-serve platform, then you might not need a lead magnet because that requires you to have sales conversations following the lead magnet. What you might want to do is perhaps focus on creating more viral type of posts, more trending type posts to bring people into your page and onto your website. These different strategies are all part of content strategy. And the way I see LinkedIn is I'm not a personal branding guru, but I am a copywriter and content strategist and marketer who's using the same lens that I use for other types of work on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn to me is a media channel, and I am just playing with the media channel and understanding how do I maximize copy, content types, and audience insights to really convert.
Mhm. But you always use AI in all these steps that you described, right? Is it just ChatGPT, or is it do you use other more unknown tools in this process?
I would say that a starter kit for anyone who is trying to build their content on LinkedIn, which is really important, is they need to have a tool for copywriting. Usually, a tool like ChatGPT or Claude would be great at this. They can also experiment with a tool called u.com. So u.com allows you to test different LLMs, which means that I can toggle between ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whenever I want to see and test different output. And that allows you to really quickly, get your hands dirty and see what model works best for your use case. So those are tools that I would recommend for perhaps copywriting. Then you need tools for visuals, right? So for visuals, of course, Canva is a tool that everyone knows. Canva's AI is pretty good, but you also have other tools like Napkin, Napkin.
Oh,
Napkin
wow.
is great for creating visuals for LinkedIn. And of course, Ideogram, which is also great for creating like poster type posts for LinkedIn. I would say that if you're using a tool, have the end objective in mind. Don't use it for the sake of it, but start with that problem, right? So if I were to create content, I will need copy, I will need design, and then I can start working backwards. But the final kind of tool is also the kind of video type editing tools. If you're looking for video editing tools, there is Descript, which is great because you can edit the videos by transcripts. There is Submagic, which allows you to take one long form video and cut it into multiple short form. And even an AI tool like HeyGen can help you to recreate AI avatars of yourself so you're creating content at scale. I prefer to still have that human touch and still create videos by myself, but I think it's always important to experiment with different AI tools so you know what's out there and what is possible.
These are crazy times that we are in. How do you feel about this? The speed is incredible, right?
I love it. I would say that without AI, I wouldn't be able to create any type of content as fast and as efficiently as I am doing now. And because I am able to leverage AI, I'm also able to train like my team, right? They too also know how to use AI to create very high quality work. So even if you're not a trained writer, even if your team members may not have writing experience, you can equip them with the tools and skills to get better at writing. And the interesting thing is, as they use AI and create more high quality content, they too are learning what makes copy great. What does it mean to, craft copy in a certain way? And you start learning from that process as well. So I see AI as a friend, an intern, but also sometimes a mentor because I think it can help you grow in different skill sets.
But you still need to know how to what great copy means, right? What are
Yes.
some maybe 2, 3 tips that people are not aware of? What is good copy? What does it mean?
So there are different types of copywriters, right? There are your brand copywriters. Your brand copywriters are great at storytelling. For example, brand copywriters are great at creating your Nike ads. You're very inspiring, very emotional, very creative type ads. So these are brand copywriters. There are also more conversion driven copywriters who are focused on creating ads that immediately get you to purchase. This requires a lot of like thinking on what is the audience insight, what words do I use to trigger urgency, scarcity, reciprocity. So there's a lot of psychological tactics involved, right? And then there are people who are like me, who are sort of in between brand and conversion. So I don't only do like sales driven hard hitting copy. Neither do I do only big brand campaigns. I sit in the middle where I'm able to capture your brand's voice, right? But still ensure that we have the right insights, the right triggers, the right psychology frameworks to help you to convert. And I think a good copywriter to me is someone who is able to use copy as their salesperson. So I say copywriting is like a salesperson on steroids, right? If
Wow.
your copy can work for you, it's a 24/7 machine. If someone lands on your landing page, reads it, and makes a purchase, that means that your copy works. And for me, because I've written so many pieces of copy, I know exactly what works and what doesn't. And when I see the ad performance and I look at the data of my ads, my landing pages, my emails, I can immediately tell what is the audience insight that is working. So a good copywriter doesn't just write. A good copywriter needs to understand the audience insights, develop a content strategy, and have that sense of perceptiveness to know how do I extract those insights, find the right words, and then get people to make a purchase. So it's both art and science.
Wow. Wow. How would you restart your business if, with all the knowledge that you have, if you had to restart at zero again, what would be the steps to go where you are right now?
I would say even before you start, you need to have the mental and emotional resilience to
Okay.
to embark on this journey. A lot of people get started, but they don't continue and they don't keep going because the journey of entrepreneurship or building your business is not easy, and it can be very demoralizing sometimes. For you to pick up a new skill set, you have to be okay with failing multiple times. For you to evolve as the industry evolves, you have to be okay spending hundreds of hours learning something new, even if it's not what you started off with. So, those are some prerequisites I think anyone should have before starting a business: the mindset of being able to fail and being able to have that resilience to continue, as well as the willingness to learn. And if I were to take a step back and think, how would I do things differently? I think that I would be perhaps more focused on developing one single core offer rather than testing multiple things. So when I first started, I offered coaching, consulting, AI tooling, copywriting services, from landing page copy to content strategy. This was great because it gave me a whole range of like experience, but at the same time, it didn't allow me to scale my business. So moving forward, one thing that I have set myself out to do is to think about the one key thing I love doing and don't mind, one part of my business.
I haven't expected the mental part of your of the journey to be that important. I'm surprised that you don't start with AI tools and learn how to whatever, how to write great copy. You start with the mental things and mindset. Why? And how can we focus on becoming better here?
Yeah, great question. AI eventually is just a tool. Copy eventually is just a skill set. But what it doesn't give you is the mindset that you need to succeed. If you have, to me, I believe that if you have the right mindset, meaning the willingness to try, to fail fast and learn faster, that gives you everything you need to keep going, even when things don't go your way, and things will often not go your way during this journey. So a lot of people think that you have to have it all figured out when you first get started. But after working on my own business and chatting with so many other fellow business owners and entrepreneurs, we all agreed that it is a journey and this journey will continue to evolve. So there is no end goal, but the beauty is in working towards that goal that where you can maximize your full potential. And that to me is what makes me most excited, keeps me most passionate, and really like gets me going every single day while working on what I love.
Thank you for this interview, Audrey. It was fantastic, actionable, and a lot of new things that I have learned. What can we and my network do for you? So, how can we support you?
If you are interested, I share lots of free tips, tricks about AI, copywriting, and marketing on my LinkedIn. You can find me at Audrey Chia, Chia. And if you are ever looking for copywriting services, you can always reach out and we can always have a chat.
Fantastic. I definitely always recommend you to others. Whenever I see your posts, I instantly know it's you. You have a perfect brand. You have such great amount of positivity in your content. So thank you for being you, and talk to you again.
Thank you for having me too.